Welcome back to Healthy Bites. Quiche has become a very favorite of ours in these modern times. We think it's really hip to eat quiche. But what is quiche? So quiche is basically a tart in which we make a base made out of atta, and then we use a lot of vegetables, and traditionally cream and eggs are used. But I'm going to show you a version where I'm going to make the filling out of sweet potatoes, and I'm going to show you a vegan version of quiche. The ingredients are baby corn that has been boiled already, palak, carrot, beans, broccoli, coriander, mustard seeds, ajwain, garam masala, potato and sweet potato that has been cubed and boiled, atta, jawar flour, salt, chili, jeera, garlic, a little bit of groundnut oil and onions. So let's start making the base of the quiche. Now traditionally quiche is made out of maida, but maida is highly refined and therefore I don't use it in any of my recipes. I'm instead going to use a combination of atta and jawar. So it's half and half. Now I like using jawar because it's one of the easier millets to roll out and to use in recipes like this. And as we all know, millets are extremely healthy for us, really nutritious. More importantly, it's what is traditionally grown here. It's what the land can grow in. They don't require a lot of water, unlike rice and wheat, and it's part of our natural Indian land. So I've just added a little bit of oil, some coriander, garam masala and salt to this mixture, and just combine it. Now the way the French say it, you've got to use half butter to the amount of flour that you're using, but since I'm not a huge fan of butter or any processed material, we're going to use water to combine it and bring it together. And it's still going to give us that lovely crumbly texture, no doubt about that, and just keep mashing it together until you've got a nice soft dough. So the dough is nice and firm, and if you feel it's a little soft, just put it into the fridge for about 15-20 minutes and it'll firm up. Time to roll it out. Now the idea of a quiche is that you have a tin wherein the bottom is loose, so it's easy to remove it at the end of the cooking process, and roll it out to about that thin. You don't want it very thick, but otherwise what happens, you only end up tasting dough. There's too much of dough and not enough filling. So don't do that. So what you do is just keep rolling it out until you get the correct thickness, and make sure that your pan can fit inside it. Make sure that there's enough to come up the sides, and don't worry about whether it's a circle or a square. It doesn't matter once it's inside the pan. So the idea is we're going to pre-bake this dough, and when you pre-bake it, you'll have a nice crusty finish to it, but the vegetables inside will still be soft. It's not going to go soggy if you pre-bake it or blind bake it. So when I measure my tin, fits in perfectly. So all I'm going to do now is pick it up with the rolling pin. That's the simplest way to do it. There's no breaking, there's no spillage, there's nothing like that. And then just roll it out into it. And carefully just push it in. And the spaces where there is less dough, we're going to take place from the places where there is a little extra dough and patch it up there. So I put it into the tin, and you don't have to butter or grease this tin because as soon as this is cooked, it will come out by itself. And what I like to do is just poke a few holes in it, and important to poke on the sides also so it doesn't shrink. The other way you can make sure that it doesn't shrink is put in a piece of parchment paper and put in some ceramic baking beans or rajma or some rice or anything like that, something that will hold it down. And then once it is done cooking for about 20 minutes, remove the parchment paper and whatever substance you put in there, and then let it bake for another 10 minutes so it becomes golden and brown. But I'm going to show you a version without doing any of that. So just make sure you score it everywhere, and don't worry, by the time we cook it, it's not going to leak out any of our filling. And now bake it in an oven for 180 degrees for about 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, so let's talk about the filling. I'm going to be making an Indianized version of quiche, wherein I'm going to be putting garam masala, mustard seeds, spinach, and I'm going to make the base, or the creamy texture is going to come out from potato and sweet potato. So I parboiled it, it's nice and soft. So all we have to do is mash it and it will create that kind of texture that we want. But first let's talk about our veggies. So I'm going to use carrot, beans, palak, onions, broccoli and corn. The more the better. And what I am going to do is cook it without oil, because I find that oil is detrimental to our health because it's been refined and processed quite a bit. So, anytime you can go ahead with a recipe without using oil, do try it out, and this is how to do it. So, in a nice hot pan, I am going to put in the mustard seeds, ajwain and jeera, and because it's nice and hot, it's going to start popping in a couple of seconds, and you'll get that same aroma of the tadka and the same sort of texture and everything. So, that's perfect. So, just let it go, and in the meantime, let me tell you a little bit more about quiche. So, we all think that quiche is a French product, but in actuality when you research on where did quiche come from, it's German. It comes from the German word Kuchen, which means cake, a savory cake, and then the French adopted it and started putting in their fillings, and there is an English twist to it. So, the English had developed a custard like filling for a tart that they used to make in the 14th and 15th century, and this tart and custard filling became so popular, the French took it on, and voila, they put it both together, and quiche Lorraine as the first quiche was born. Since then, of course, there have been numerous fillings and numerous different pastry ideas, and quiche has evolved, and like the one I am showing you, it's got lots of avatars. So, this has started popping. Time to add the onions, the garlic and the chili, and just let this roast off until the onions become nice and brown. So, the onions have started changing color. Time to add the rest of the veggies. So, I have just got grated carrot, beans and palak, and you can add all of this at this point, you do not need to add them in stages. The whole idea is for it to be a nutritious meal. And what I am going to do is add a little bit of water, salt, garam masala. It's the first time I made quiche at home. My family was like, what is this? It's strange tasting, and I live with my grandparents, so they didn't understand oregano and thyme and all of that. So, the next time I made it, I said, let me put garam masala and coriander powder and all the known powders, and then they ate it and they said, yeah, it is nice, it's good. And since then, for every birthday, when I ask them, what would you like me to make, can I make you something special, and they'll turn around and say, you know, that thing, they don't know how to pronounce quiches yet, but then they'll say, you know, that one with all of this and all the veggies. So, it gets made, and each time I make it, I put in a different set of vegetables, just so that you know, you get all the nutrition from different veggies, and more importantly, you want it to taste different each time. You don't want to get bored of the same things. So, in this bowl, what I have done is the potato and sweet potato that I had boiled with a little bit of salt. I have just mashed it up, keep mashing it until it is nice and creamy, and then once this is done and the veggies are cooked, we will put them in together. So, the base is cooked and the veggies are done. Let us put the quiche together. So, what I like to do at this point, you just put the veggies into the aloo and sweet potato mixture, and that helps it become nice and creamy, and mix it well. So, make sure it is all amalgamated. You want a piece of beans, carrot, all of it in every mouthful. So, when one of my friends turned vegan and she loved quiche, she turned around and said, what can I do? How do I eat quiche? So, I thought about it and I looked at what gives a creamy texture, what vegetables can we use to substitute for cream, and potato and sweet potato and all of our tubers are the best thing for it. So, I tried it out and it was a great hit. So, most of the time when I now make quiche, I do not even add cream, I just do this mixture, and nobody knows that, you know, there is no cream, there is no egg. But some of my staunch quiche lovers who also have quiche all over the place, they will turn around and say, wow, it was so creamy and delicious. That is perfect, what more can I ask for? So, I am just going to put this into the pan at this point. So, it is good to blind bake the quiche shell, because what then happens is it is nice and crisp, it is not going to go soggy even after putting in the filling. And to make it beautiful, I am going to add some strips of red capsicum, broccoli and corn. And once you have added your strips decoratively, just put it back in the oven for about 20 minutes for it to set, and it will be perfect. So the quiche is done, it's nice golden brown, and let me show you how to remove it. So I know the initial times I made quiche, I'd be holding it like this and the pan would be down here and I'd invariably get a burn. But I've learned that if you put something of a little height which is shorter than the base on it and then just click it open, it's going to come right out. And that's it, your quiche is done. So this is my recipe for a French classic quiche made with creamy potatoes, sweet potatoes and lots of different veggies, my vegan twist to it.